Hi everyone, today is going to be another request video. This request comes this time from my housemate and very good friend Caleb. A lot of my friends from Butler know Caleb, and his question had to do with modes, which is a favorite topic of mine, and I think a lot of music students get kind of confused by this concept, or they're put off, or they don't understand it, or they feel like it doesn't really apply much to what they're going to use every day. And like, why else do we learn theory but to help understand the music that we all make? And so I kind of want to take this time and demonstrate why they matter and why modes are not scary. And so first of all, I guess we should talk about like where they come from. So they come from Gregorian chant, so like ancient medieval music, and specifically ancient medieval theoreticians, music theory nerds, who came like after all of this chant music had been written and they were trying to make sense of it, and they realized, oh, they follow these particular patterns and they arrange their music in a particular way. And so I think the easiest way to kind of teach this, and lots of theory teachers do it this way, is to work from the major scale. And the major and minor scales are examples of modes that are still used today. So the primary mode that we're familiar with now is the major scale, which goes whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Probably threw in an extra whole step, but that's the idea. That's the sound that we get. It's very orderly. What we like to hear is this, again, the harmonic series, this fifth. As long as our ear gets that sound in there somewhere, we're usually pretty at peace with the sound of a mode. Now, I will immediately take a left turn and discuss the mode that could be argued as the most scary and, to most people, the weirdest mode. And the name of this mode is the Locrian mode. Where do these names come from? They are Greek names. They're just kind of, not randomly, but not particularly systematically either. They're applied to these modes by the medieval theoreticians, probably partly just because Greek was an educated language, and so they just randomly assigned areas of Greece to these different modes. But this first mode that we're going to start with is the weirdest one. It's called Locrian mode, and the reason that it's very weird is because it does not contain that fifth. If you go up 5 steps from the main note of the mode, which is known as a final, not a tonic, you have that. What do you do with that? If you try to write music in that, like for example, let's play Mary Had a Little Lamb. That doesn't sound right at all, okay? Nothing about that is really particularly pleasing or easy for the ear to latch onto. So generally, there hasn't been a ton of music written in the Locrian mode. And if you notice, the way that I'm doing this is you can basically find the different modes by attaching them to different scale degrees. So remember, we number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. I'm sorry, 1 again, obviously. So on scale degree 7, we get the Locrian mode. Kind of exotic sounding, and very strange. Unstable is the good word. If we move down another step, we get to scale degree 6 in the major scale, and we encounter what is called the Aeolian mode, and this should sound a lot more familiar. What's another name for that? Freshman music theory students, very good. It's the natural minor scale. If you'll notice, it doesn't have any of the added notes that we will put in there, such as for the harmonic and melodic minors. Harmonic and melodic. Aeolian mode is used in a lot of very effective contexts, like there's a lot of pop songs that are written in Aeolian mode. I think of The Sound of Silence. This is an Aeolian mode slash Ionian mode. It kind of goes back and forth because, again, the notes are going to be the same, and so it's really easy to transition. Another one would be Pirates of the Caribbean. Theme. You also have music from How to Train Your Dragon. You know, something like that. That was a terrible bite you're playing of it, but that's kind of the idea. There's also a lot of hymns. I mean, you have, well, not a lot, but hymns that are written in there. You have I Wonder as I Wander. It has this very folksy but sad sound because of the minor third. Mysterious, distant. There's a lot. I mean, common. Even today, it's used. The song "Old Town Road" is in Aeolian mode. Yeah. So that's a good number of examples for how Aeolian mode is used. It has this. Has a little bit of exoticism because we don't have what we call the leading tone, which is this half step below the tonic. You know, that's kind of what we expect to hear, but in the Aeolian mode we get this instead. Very cool. I'm going to switch to the other hand. Alright, if we keep moving down, we get to scale degree 5. Which was, again, built on the dominant of C major. If we play that scale, it sounds like this. Sorry, mode, not scale. Again, we don't have that leading tone. I was watching some videos in preparation for making this one, and apparently somebody had pointed out that this one is arguably the closest to bearing out the principles of the harmonic series, because if you remember, we start down here, C, C, G, C, B flat, or whatever, this blue note. And that's what we have in the Mixolydian mode. We have kind of this lowered 7, which again gives us that folk sound, and I'll try to demonstrate some. So, for example, we have Scotland the Brave. A lot of you know that one. Another one is Hey Jude. That one's in Mixolydian mode. A folk song, Old Joe Clark. Not Cotton Eye Joe, but Old Joe Clark. That's a folk song that's written in the Mixolydian mode. It's really, really cool. It has a neat folk sound. It's closely associated with Celtic music. So if you like Celtic music, if you like Celtic Woman, Celtic Thunder, whatever, you probably heard that mode a lot. The next one is one of my favorites. If you keep going down, we arrive at scale degree 4 of the C major scale, and this gives us what's called the Lydian mode. Really, really cool, associated kind of with joy, which I think makes total sense. And I'm going to demonstrate one of the ways that this is kind of used. I think it's almost become kind of a trope in film music that you play Lydian mode music when people are finding something out or going somewhere. And here, I'll kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about. This is kind of your Lydian adventure music. You get the idea. It has this kind of urgency about it. And part of that is, again, there's that implied relationship between in the scale, you have the tonic note, and then below what you expect is the subdominant, which is F in the key of C. or for the sake of consistency, we'll keep it in F Lydian, which agrees with our C major scale. There is no fifth below the tonic. Instead, we have this again. It creates this kind of implied instability, if we can say it that way. All right, that's why we didn't like the Locrian mode, because we had that. It's this interval here, made of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, made of 6 half steps, which is known as a tritone. It's very famous. Music students know about that. But instead of creating kind of a menacing feeling in the Lydian mode, it creates, like I said, a feeling of joy or of adventure and going somewhere. The instability is not a bad thing. That's a pretty deep philosophical point. Moving on, if we keep going down, we arrive at scale degree 3 of the C major scale, and we build what is called the Phrygian mode. And this is one that is associated with Latin music. This is kind of a loose example because it's not strictly the Phrygian church mode, but if you hear like the typical guitar thing that you associate with Latin music, that is kind of in Phrygian mode actually. This, especially this half step here, gives the Phrygian mode its sound. And to me, one of the most striking examples of the Phrygian mode is the very famous hymn, O Sacred Head Now Wounded, which is an ancient chant melody, and without the harmony that Bach provided, it sounds much different and much more intense and almost brings out the message of the words more so. But this is the original melody. Pardon my mistakes. You know, it ends here. We're used to hearing it harmonized in a major scale. You know, that's what we're used to, but originally it's written in this Phrygian mode. Very intense and dark. The next mode, if we keep going down, we arrive at a really cool mode called Dorian mode. This is another one that's popular in film music, and there's a lot of common melodies. And what makes this one really special is the raised sixth. This one is closely related to the Lydian mode just because we have this unexpected major type harmony. Creates a very exotic sound, very strongly medieval and foreign to our modern ears. Some of the best examples of this used in music are crane sleeves, and then whatever note. You hear that the upper neighbor tone that it goes to. We'd expect to hear this in a minor mode, which you may have heard sometimes, but originally it has this Dorian sound. Really fascinating. Other ones that you might have heard before are kind of in a Simon and Garfunkel vein again. We have Scarborough Fair. Really interesting the way that creates almost a sadder effect than the original minor, with the addition of that unexpected major chord. Really cool. It's also found in Lord of the Rings. Okay, the Rohan theme, right? Yeah, that's about all I have to say about Dorian mode. Really cool stuff. And finally, we have arrived at the place where we all where we got the beginning from. That was really badly phrased. Whatever. Come this far. The Ionian mode. Tons and tons of music is written in the Ionian mode because it is also known as the major scale. Tons of music, like Amazing Grace is written in this mode. Danny Boy is written in this mode. Jump by Van Halen is written in this mode. 1,000 Miles is written in this. Anyway, you get the idea. There's tons and tons of music that appears in this mode, and you're very familiar with it. I'll just demonstrate it once. I don't even need to give any examples. Do Re Mi is written in this, you know, the song from Sound of Music, obviously. So this isn't to say that these are the only modes, but these are the main ones that you're going to encounter in theory. Oh wow, I'm upside down. These are the main ones that you're going to encounter in theory discussion. These are the church modes, and this is in opposition to a lot of other ethnic modes that you'll find, like double harmonic major, which I think that's what that is. Some theory nerd check me on that, but I think that's what that is. Is the Middle Eastern sound. You also have Hungarian modes, and Olivier Messiaen wrote his own modes. He called them modes of limited transposition. You have the American composer Griffiths, who wrote his own modes as well. But these modes are interesting because they were devised and kind of labeled by theoreticians after the fact. And so, like most theory, they come after the music, not before the music. But anyway, if you stuck with me this long, thanks for watching, and thank you, Caleb, for the excellent question.